On the morning of October 17th, 1876, the bells of St. Cecilia's Convent rang for prayer, but 8 sisters never answered the call. The convent sat on a windswept ridge in northern Wisconsin, surrounded by dense pine forest. The land was quiet, almost smothered in its silence. But inside, the convent was alive with the rhythm of faith, morning bells, whispered prayers, the faint scratching of quills on parchment. On that October morning, the routine fractured. A group of 8 women, Sisters Agnes, Bernadette, Clara, Margaret, Joan, Beatrice, Mary, and the youngest, Sister Evelyn, had been sent on a 3-day retreat at a small wooden chapel deep in the woods. It was supposed to be a time of fasting, reflection, and silence. They never came back. When a search party set out, they found the retreat chapel empty. Candles were still burning. Prayer books sat open. The sisters' shoes were neatly lined at the door, but the women themselves were gone, leaving behind only silence. Newspaper clipping, Milwaukee Gazette, October 21st, 1876. 8 holy sisters missing. Authorities baffled. A group of nuns from St. Cecilia's Convent failed to return from their retreat. No evidence of foul play has been found, yet the women are presumed lost to the wilderness. Local families have joined in the search, though many whisper that the land itself does not welcome intruders. Whispers spread quickly. Some said the women had fled, abandoning their vows. Others believed they were attacked by wolves. But those who knew the convent best felt something darker had occurred. Father Matthias, the priest overseeing St. Cecilia's, insisted they had simply wandered too far. But the locals weren't convinced. One farmer who joined the search recalled, "Interview, recreated 1978, oral history. We found their trail at first, footprints in the mud leading toward the woods. But then, nothing. Not like it faded, it just stopped. 8 sets of footprints gone, like they'd stepped off the earth." The story of the vanished nuns faded from the headlines after a few weeks. Life moved on, but at the convent, unease lingered. The chapel they'd vanished from was boarded up. The sisters who remained whispered in the halls. And in a leather-bound journal belonging to Sister Evelyn, discovered years later, was the first real hint that something was deeply wrong. Journal entry, Sister Evelyn, October 14th, 1876. Tomorrow we leave for retreat. I should feel peace, but instead I feel dread. The chapel is far, and they say it was built over old ground, land that belonged to a people who warned not to disturb it. Sister Agnes says such fears are foolish, but last night I dreamed of a door beneath the chapel floor. It was open, and something waited for us inside. I pray this is only imagination, but I fear what waits in the silence. The disappearance became legend in the small town. For decades, no one went near the abandoned chapel. Children dared each other to run up to the rotting doors. Hunters swore they heard chanting deep in the woods at night. Then, in 1911, construction workers expanding the convent grounds unearthed something. Beneath the soil near the chapel, they discovered a shallow grave. Inside were bones. Not one body, but fragments of several. Some were unmistakably human. Others were harder to identify. The church quickly claimed they were old settler remains, but locals whispered a different story. The missing sisters had finally been found. Newspaper excerpt, The Duluth Chronicle, July 2, 1911. Disturbing discovery near convent grounds, bones found in quantity. Workers halted excavation after unearthing skeletal remains. Officials deny connection to the infamous 1876 disappearance of 8 nuns, though suspicions remain strong among townsfolk. In the 1950s, a historian named Carolyn Mercer began researching the case. She tracked down surviving parishioners, pored through church archives, and collected fragments of the nuns' belongings still locked away in the convent cellar. Her findings were chilling. Among them was a set of letters written by Sister Agnes, the eldest of the missing nuns. Letter from Sister Agnes, unsent, dated October 16, 1876. Father Matthias insists we spend the night in the chapel, though several of us are unwell. The air feels heavy, and the silence presses upon us. Sister Beatrice swears she heard scratching beneath the floorboards. He rebuked her for speaking of it, yet I too heard something. If this letter reaches anyone, know that we were compelled here against our will. Carolyn Mercer's notes suggest she uncovered something more. Evidence that Father Matthias had been excommunicated years earlier for irregular practices. Rumors swirled that he experimented with rituals not sanctioned by the Church. But before Mercer could publish her findings, she vanished. Her car was found on a dirt road near the old convent. Inside was a satchel filled with notes, photographs, and a tape recorder. The tape contained only one thing: static. Then Carolyn's voice. I'm standing inside the retreat chapel now. The boards are rotten. The air is cold. I've pried open a hatch beneath the altar. There's a chamber below. My lantern shows... Oh God, the smell. There are chains on the wall, symbols carved into the stone. Someone was here. Someone was kept here. I think... The tape cuts abruptly. For decades after Mercer's disappearance, no one touched the chapel. The church quietly reinforced the boards, posted warnings about unstable structure, and erased her name from their records. But the story refused to die. Locals said the ground was cursed. Travelers swore they saw women in black habits moving through the trees at night. And then, in 1992, the convent was closed for good. When the convent shut down, much of its property was sold, but the chapel remained boarded, untouched, as if the church still feared what lay inside. In 2001, a group of amateur historians filming a documentary about Wisconsin's Forgotten Mysteries gained permission to enter. What they found was never released publicly, but fragments of their footage leaked years later. The video is grainy, handheld. It shows the group prying open the chapel hatch, descending into the earth. The chamber below is narrow, with stone walls blackened by soot. Chains still hang from the walls. The camera pans over piles of cloth, habits, rotted away but unmistakable. And carved into the far wall is a message, etched deep into stone. We were not lost. We were offered. In 2017, declassified church archives revealed the truth. Father Matthias had been investigated for heresy in 1877. Witnesses claimed he believed sacrifice was required to bind evil beneath the earth. The 8 nuns had not wandered into the woods. They had been led one by one into the chamber, bound, offered. But the question remained, offered to what? No body of Matthias was ever found. His journals, recovered in fragments, speak of a voice that promised power if he gave the sisters over. It is done. The door is shut. Their voices remain below. I cannot silence them. God forgive me. The chapel still stands today, sealed, overgrown, avoided even by locals. Hikers claim to hear faint hymns drifting from the woods on cold October nights. 8 nuns vanished, their voices silenced in the name of devotion, twisted into horror. But their story was not erased. It waits beneath the floorboards, in the dark chamber where faith and fear met, and something unspeakable was born. Some mysteries linger, not because they cannot be solved, but because we are too afraid of what the answers demand we believe.